Well, despite how it feels, this weather emergency is not over yet. Alfred is lingering, downgraded to a tropical low and hovering close to the coast. The big question now, how much rain is still to come?
An unwanted visitor arriving late and packing a punch we could do without.
Well, Alfred's here. We've just lost our doors in our bedroom.
As with the build-up to this powerful storm, the Gold Coast was again the hardest hit.
Looks like our trees are about to fall down, our big Norfolk.
Many across the coast capturing explosive videos as the damage unfolded.
Did you get
Several transformers couldn't handle the storm, contributing to more than 100,000 Gold Coast residents losing power. As daylight emerged, Alfred was no longer a tropical cyclone, but it was clear how damaging those winds were. This huge tree crashing through a house at Ashmore, while Sharita and Rahul were inside playing Uno with the kids.
It's just so sad to see our beautiful home like this, so damaged.
The inside of their home completely destroyed. They're just grateful to be alive.
Those images of that roof just collapsing right in front of my eyes was just... I've never experienced something like this before.
Not far away in Labrador, police evacuating an entire apartment complex. The force of the wind peeling off the roof.
You guys all right? The entire roof structure's been compromised. We need to get you guys out of here.
Damaged trees causing chaos from Tweed Heads all the way to the Gold Coast hinterland.
My God.
One crazy motorist chancing their luck driving under a tree fallen on power lines.
You're a knobhead, mate. Absolute kid.
It wasn't the only silly behaviour captured on social media. Thankfully, nobody has been seriously injured north of the border. The Gold Coast's largest victim, the jumbo golf ball at Mermaid Beach putt-putt, crashing to the ground.
I want to assure Queenslanders that because we prepared well for this event and because they prepared well for this event, we can now move our focus to the clean-up in the days, hours ahead.
The Currumbin Vikings Surf Club has taken an absolute battering, covered in a sea of foam today after 3 days of Alfred banging at the door. The cyclonic swell had already swept away the car park, this morning's surge crashing its way inside the ground floor too.
We had some barriers up that usually protect against these large surges, but these are obviously larger than we've seen in a long time.
Michael Sullivan is the club's CEO and says they're used to being hammered by the ocean, but Alfred packed an even bigger punch.
Alfred got us pretty good this time. This is probably the worst we've seen in 2 or 3 decades, so just the volume of the water that's come through and just the speed that it's come through as well.
The much-loved club has launched a donation appeal to help them get back on their feet. The islands in Moreton Bay were also heavily hit, feeling the intensity of Alfred as a Category 1 cyclone, draining some of the storm's intensity before it crossed the coast as a tropical low. Scarping on the exposed side of North Stradbroke Island, having a dramatic impact on its beautiful beaches. Trees were down across Brisbane, causing power outages on a scale rarely seen in Queensland. Crews unable to restore power until the rain and winds died down, but quickly hitting the roads today to get to work. Chris Graham is from Energex.
You guys must be just about the busiest people in Brisbane today.
Yeah, and we're happy to be busy too. It's great to be getting out and doing these repairs.
By mid-afternoon, the number of homes without power reached 290,000. While many in the southeast have thankfully been untouched by Alfred, some residents could be waiting for up to a week before their electricity is restored.
So for the vast majority of customers, we're going to be able to get your power back on reasonably promptly. So we're working through, we're doing the damage assessments today. Once we've done those damage assessments, we'll have a better idea.
It's a big challenge. We're throwing everything at it because we understand how important that is for Queenslanders.
And the Gold Coast is feeling the tail end of ex-tropical cyclone Alfred right now, and Davina Smith is in the thick of it. Davina, it is so loud, it is miserable. Just how chaotic is it, love?
Ali, we
thought the worst of it was over, and that's certainly what the forecast and the Bureau was, that by this afternoon these winds would die back. That is far from the case. In fact, looking at the measurements right now, up until this afternoon, the worst wind gusts have been 100 k's an hour. That was 10:30 last night. It's pushing that right now, and the damage on the famous Gold Coast beaches is just profound. I don't even know if we can spin around and show you, because it is that horrific right now. There is not much left of the beaches. A 52-kilometre stretch across the Gold Coast, and it's just been eaten away by Alfred, particularly along the northern stretch here of the Gold Coast. I was at a lifeguard tower yesterday. That had fallen into the water, so it had already eaten away about 30 metres of the beach. Overnight, about another 15 metres had gone. And when you consider that these beaches are happy family playgrounds, people come from all over Australia to have a wonderful time. Right now, they are decaying and they are potential death traps, and that's why police have been so determined to keep people away. There's a $16,000 fine if you're caught on the sand, anywhere on the sand at the moment, because it drops away. Yesterday, I was standing near a father who was holding a newborn baby on one of those cliffs, and it just crumbled. He had to step back, and he was okay, but my goodness, it rattled me last night thinking about how close we were to just watching a terrible tragedy unfold. And that's why authorities are saying the tail end of this, anywhere south of this system, particularly on the Gold Coast, it is not over yet. The risk of these winds and the damage that it's caused with power lines, you heard from Dan before, almost 300,000 people without power. Most of that here is on the Gold Coast. Every second person you speak to doesn't have power, and they're not expecting it for a couple of days. So while there is no significant damage here, there is going to be a lot of pain to come, particularly when you think of the tourism damage and just the general everyday losses that families have suffered.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, you can't even start to think about the cleanup when you've still got that rain band that is just hovering off the coast there. I mean, Davina, you have to be out in this weather tonight because it's your job. You've been out in it all day and you've done an amazing job. But there are people behind you who've just come down just to have a bit of a sticky beak. I can't believe they're out. And looking at you, all I want to do is wrap a big, warm blanket around you. Look after yourself, okay? Thank you for that update.
Find me a hotel with power and a hot shower, Ali.
I'll do my best. Thanks, Davina. Well, just south of the border, the town of Lismore remains on tenterhooks. The scars from the last flood 3 years ago are front of mind. All eyes are on the levee. If that holds, they'll be okay. If it doesn't, well, no one wants to even think about it.
Years, nearly to the day. Yeah. I can't keep doing this every 3 years. I don't know how people do it. I honestly don't.
This emergency is not over.
We're sitting on top of the flood on Wotherspoon Street, Lismore. This is the only way in and out of Alison and Beth's home. So talk me through what's going on in your place at the moment.
We're moving stuff into the ceiling. Yeah, that's what we've been doing all morning. Yeah. Everything's up in the ceiling that we don't want to have to rewash because we learnt from the last flood.
Saving what they can, but counting what's already lost. Wow.
Say goodbye to a few things. They're washable. That's actually washable, believe it or not.
We've got chairs, we've got some
fridge over there.
Fridge, we've got some furniture, cupboards, bikes.
This is the first look at what more could be on the way. The flood sludge bringing much, much more than a filthy mess.
This will still be a muddy clean-up, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever smelled flood mud?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so yummy. Whenever it rains, you can smell it. Yeah. Brings back memories.
Awful memories.
Awful memories that invoke the fear of the flood. Upstairs, it's still dry. Precious possessions have been moved much higher. But the question that no one can answer, is it ever high enough?
That is the last flood.
Yeah.
Still an eerie reminder. Alison, what did you lose last time?
Wow. I lost everything.
Baby
Absolutely
photos.
Everything. Baby photos.
New air conditioners.
Video footage of our trip to New Zealand when you were 2.
Yeah.
Stuff that my grandmother made for me. and yeah, stuff, brand new stuff that I bought. Like everything I own.
120 ADF personnel and 30 high clearance vehicles in northern New South Wales. They're there now to assist the local SES. They are supporting the local SES through door knocking, as well as conducting welfare checks on the vulnerable members of that community.
As brown swallows the northern rivers, there's ominous signs on the streets. The flood breaks this town apart. It breaks their homes, and it's enough to break even the strongest people.
We lost everything. Yeah. And sorry.
It's traumatic.
Yeah, oh, it still is, yeah.
The scars run deep in this town. It's the things we can't see that hurt the very most.
And then we were homeless for
God knows how long.
God knows how long. Emergency housing.
The water is still rising, but potentially their biggest fear is they know just how bad things can get.
To keep doing this over and over and over, it's just not feasible. It's just not feasible, I'm sorry. How many more times can people do this? How many more times? And there's nothing there to stop it from happening again. Wherever there's a flood, we're going to be there to help.
Do you know what? Lismore needs people like you in their communities.
Until you've been through something like this, you just don't realise how lucky we have it.
Gosh, they're a resilient bunch, and the river in Lismore is still rising, but slowly. Our fingers are crossed for them tonight.